What do you think about the Visitation, Joe? Was St. Joseph there?
In my book, I talk about that, the book of Joseph. As shown to us by the mystics, St. Joseph accompanied Our Lady to Zacharias and Elizabeth's place in the hill country. So we're told that actually, while Joseph and Mary were traveling, he asked Our Lady to sing hymns to God, so to make the journey go by faster. So they were praising and singing to God the whole journey, which is quite beautiful, a little pilgrimage in a way. But he left her at Zacharias and Elizabeth's place. He wouldn't have been there to hear the Magnificat or Elizabeth's greeting, how is it the mother of my Lord should come to me? So it was just a quick drop off to make sure she got there safely. And then I didn't find anywhere that he went to pick her up. He was supposedly working on their home, and she was brought by, traveled with a group of people on the way home when she was already showing to be pregnant. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
what do you think?
well, I didn't even think about this until one day I was, praying on obviously a Monday. So it was the Joyful Mysteries. So, I got to the Visitation, Mystery number 2, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Was Joseph there? And so then that question made me think, and I started doing some research, and I thought, wow, why have I never even thought about this before? At the chapel of the Visitation in Tung Chung, Hong Kong, there's a lovely Asian style painting where it has Mary and Elizabeth, and then kind of like outside the walls, the doors open, you can see somebody out there. And I'm guessing it's like Joseph, right? And to me, that kind of makes sense. So, like, he's maybe there, but far away enough where he doesn't hear what Elizabeth says, because obviously there's a conundrum there. If he hears Elizabeth says, how is it that the mother of my Lord shall come to me? Then he knows she's pregnant. So then he wouldn't ask the question, how'd you get pregnant? So there's that conundrum, which I posted in the Facebook group. There's a really interesting article by New Liturgical Movement. They usually have really good articles. And there's saints that fall on both sides of this. In my research, I just sent an email to the Franciscan custodians of the Holy Land and said, hey, you guys got a church there you're watching over. Quick question. Do you guys, in the images there of the Visitation, is St. Joseph in it? And like, no, because if you look at the outside of it on that huge fresco, when you enter that church, there's a huge fresco of Mary on a donkey, and there's 3 angels, and that's it. There's no image of St. Joseph. And I said, well, what about any other images? Are there any other images? I said, nope. I said, well, in that same place in Ankara, there's the, Basilica of St. John the Baptist. What about over there? Like, no. So I'm like, okay, if he's not in the icons, maybe he wasn't there. So then I side with either A, he just arranged the caravan and helped her get on the caravan, maybe with, some friends or relatives, and she went, or B, he went with her in the caravan. He stopped in Jerusalem, and then Zechariah picked her up and took her, the 2 or 3 miles more over to Ankara. Or C, he went with her in the caravan to Jerusalem, and then they went on over to Ankara, and then he went back to Nazareth to, keep working. The other conundrum that we need to look at is Holy Joseph and Holy Mary. Would they have cohabitated before, during their betrothal? Because they had the betrothal and then they had the marriage. So if you look at the chronology, after this Visitation, Joseph became aware that she was pregnant. And that's when he had his annunciation. The angel said, Joseph, don't be afraid to take Mary into your home as your wife. So that means if he went with her on the Visitation trip, which would be like a 5-day trip, so they're going to be sleeping somewhere under the stars or in, like a hostel or hotels, whatever they had back then. Of course, very chastely, but would that be the right thing to do to accompany your fiance back then, which of course betrothal is much more profound than our modern day fiance and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's a conundrum. I think what we can say from what you said and what everyone else says is that Joseph was not there at the moment of the Visitation, at least not within earshot range, um, which means he was either 50 feet away or 5 days away. Regardless, he didn't hear it. Because if he heard it, he wouldn't have asked the question. He wouldn't have been perplexed with his great, perplexity of what should I do. Um, so
See,
yeah,
I think personally that because there are a lot of paintings that show him present, but like you said, he's off to the side or like looking in through a window or something. Or he's shown with Zachariah. So I see it as, they arrived there. Our Lady goes straight to see her cousin Elizabeth. Joseph would go to the man of the house, Zachariah. And neither of them would have heard, I think, the Magnificat. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that are nice to think about. I mean, when you're praying the Rosary and the joyful mysteries, well, we're called to meditate on these mysteries, and that's exactly what all these thoughts are that you're bringing up. That is a meditation on this, and it's beautiful when you can do that. It's not just dry prayer. You're actually trying to think, well, how did it happen? And whatever way it happened, I mean, it worked out fine. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to, right? The way God wanted it to. So again, that's something we'll get details of hopefully when we're in the hereafter, but definitely something to meditate on while praying.
yeah. I mean, I initially thought that he was there, accompanied her every foot, every step of the way. Because a lot of times people would say, well, I can't imagine good Joseph, the protector of the Holy Family, not being there. Yes, but they weren't fully married yet. So, and what came to me was like, wait a minute. If Mary's got, three angels around her, I like to think, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, but in that most ancient icon, yeah, other images have Joseph there, but those are much later images. And likewise, you see much later images of Joseph and his supposed other sons before Mary, as the East follows that tradition, which I don't agree with. So just because it's in an image doesn't mean anything. So then I like to go to the most ancient images. And I figured, well, what does it show at the Basilica of the Visitation? So I think that God being inside Mary could pretty much protect Mary, no problem. So I don't see that Joseph like needs to be there. But at the same time, like say my son and his girlfriend, if they go visit like her parents or my parents on a car trip, is that okay? Yeah, they can still do it chastely. Would that be wrong? Well, no. I mean, if you do it in the right way and there's space and it can be done fine. So I can see it either way. But it's an interesting thought to meditate on. But Joe, one more question, because inquiring minds want to know, what do you think about the spiral staircase of Santa Fe? Who do you think built that beautiful, mysterious wooden spiral staircase of Santa Fe, New Mexico? Was it Saint Joseph himself in the flesh, like an apparition? Or was it this French guy named Francois Jean Roches, aka Frenchy? Or was it someone else? Or was it both of them? Or I've even heard someone said Jesus himself came down and he built it. What are your thoughts? Have you ever looked into that?
Yeah, I have looked into it. I saw a good movie about it actually. I believe kind of a bit of both. I believe Frenchie appeared to fix it as a result of their novena to Saint Joseph. I mean, God and His saints work through people as well. So Saint Joseph, they prayed to Saint Joseph, and so he sent them Frenchie, whether Frenchie realized it or not. And I think that's the plain and simple of it.
Well, I would tend to agree with you. I did a lot of research on this, and if you can maybe look up here, there'll be a card that you can click on to see another video on this very topic. Um, I try not to answer the question in that video. I try to leave it open to the viewers to make their own decision. But I think if you look at all the facts, I think it's pretty clear that the novena was answered and St. Joseph sent Frenchie to do it. And I think in God's justice, we should let Frenchie get his due credit for building an amazing spiral staircase. If, on the other hand, as some people in the comment section of that video said, nope, it was St. Joseph. Okay, where's the evidence? Show me the money. I mean, I'm a man of faith. I can believe God can do that through St. Joseph. No big deal. I can do it. But I'm thinking if he did it through St. Joseph, I think it'd be a lot better, personally. And also, there's all these questions like, okay, so like Joseph was there for 3 months. Like, wow, that's a huge apparition. I mean, like, why doesn't everyone know about it? And then when I sent an email to the bishop of Santa Fe, they weren't like, oh yeah, it was St. Joseph. They're like, yeah, that's a mystery, and it's not solved. And then I wrote to the sisters of Loreto, and they said, yeah, they basically believe that it was Frenchie. So I think if we follow the facts, it leads us towards that kind of a both and thing. So I have to be obedient to what the church teaches, and it seems like the church is saying, yeah, I mean, if it was St. Joseph, the church would be like, hey, this was St. Joseph, right? Yeah. But there's really good Christians on both sides of this topic, and I don't want anyone, their faith to be hurt, but also like, we got to go by faith and reason. And those two things have to, I think, gel. So you can't just look at it, oh, I believe it, that was St. Joseph. Okay, what about the reason? How does that work with the reason? Because reason-wise, what about this, and this? So yeah, say you have
I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, you're not going to go to hell if you don't believe that St. Joseph built it, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But at the same time,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not that big a deal. But what surprised me is there's like over 70,000 people watch that video. I'm like, there's way more important things to talk about on St. Joseph than a spiral staircase, right? Like, it blew my mind. Like, why are people so concerned about a staircase? But the concern I have is that some people might say, oh, I think that was St. Joseph. And then they've had like some atheist guy who says, that wasn't St. Joseph because of this, and this. And, you have to have a mature faith to say, like, just, what do the facts show? I mean, there's many miracles that we can prove. And is that a miracle or not? It's kind of black and white, right? So is it a miracle?
I think any answered prayer is a miracle.
Yes, true. But that's different than saying this spiral staircase was miraculously built with the hands of St. Joseph. So if this were true, then that wooden staircase would be a second-class relic. One could almost even argue almost a first class if he left some like DNA on it. But no one ever claimed it as a second-class relic, and I think also if you look at, the website, it's the chapel and spa at Loreto. So they use it for commercial purposes. They make a lot of money. People can have weddings there, which are not sacramental weddings. So they make money off of it. I think you have to consider that fact too. They make about $1 million a year on tourists that go there to see the spiral staircase. And for Catholics watching, you can't get married there. I mean, it's not a church. It's been decommissioned as a church. So I don't think if St. Joseph built it with his own hands that he would, want people going there to get married at a church that wouldn't be sacramental. So I think we just have to be open and honest with all these facts, and then throw all the facts together. You say, hey, here's the culmination of all the facts, and it looks like the sisters prayed, fact. A carpenter showed up, fact. On Frenchie's tombstone and obituary, it says that he built it. So you look at all these facts, okay, St. Joseph answered the prayer and he sent Frenchie. It's a both and, I think. Please, friends, put some comments down in the comment section. If you disagree with this thought, please say why. Don't just say St. Joseph built it, because that's too easy. We could say Frenchie built it after the prayers of St. Joseph, but say why, because I think we have to have a mature faith and reason to go with this.